In the following, I would like to present to you how you could possibly correct or add a priority claim which you have made in an international application under the PCT. Well, first of all, it's a good thing to know that you can actually do that. So you make your priority claim in your request form, but you made a little typo or you left out some data like the application number because you either didn't have it or you overlooked to provide it in the request form. And it's good then to know that you can actually correct such a defect later on. Of course, it could also happen that you file a PCT application and you completely overlook that you wanted to make a priority claim in your PCT application, and it's also good to know that you can add a priority claim after the time of filing. Now, what I'm not talking about, just to clarify this here, is another type of error that could happen at the time of filing, and that is that you file your PCT application too late. As you know, under Article 4 of the Paris Convention, you have 12 months from the filing date of your application of which you want to claim priority to file your subsequent applications, or in this case, your international application. Now, unfortunately, sometimes it does happen that an applicant misses the 12-month time period and files one or multiple days late. This is an issue where possibly you can still rely on something called the restoration of the priority right, but this is a separate topic and I will not talk about this here. But you need to be clear that you need to distinguish these two cases. The one case where you filed too late, this is restoration of the priority right, and the other case where you made a typographical error or you overlooked to include your priority claim in your PCT from the beginning. There, it's the correction or addition procedure that I would like to talk about and which is contained in PCT Rule 26 bis. There is a time limit, obviously, to correct or add a priority claim. You cannot do this ad infinitum. You need to do it within an applicable time limit. And the time limit is 4 months from the filing of your international application. That you have as a guarantee, and that's the easiest to remember. So if you fix this issue within 4 months from the filing of your international application, you're always on the safe side. You sometimes have cases where you have a little more time. For that, you would have to look at a 16-month time limit from the earliest priority claim. The earliest priority claim, what I mean with this is that could be the claim that you indicated in your request form or the one that you meant to indicate in your request form, which could be even earlier or could be later, but in any event, it needs to be the earliest priority claim. So if that 16-month time limit from the earliest priority claim expires after the 4 months that I mentioned before, then it would be the 16-month time limit that would apply. It is a little bit complicated. It's probably one of the most complicated time limits in the PCT. And to make things easier for applicants, we have developed a little tool, an electronic tool, which is called the PCT Time Limit Calculator, and which you can find on our internet site. You enter the relevant data, and it would give you the time limit within which you can add or correct a priority claim under the PCT. Now, when you file your PCT application and there is an error in your priority claim, in one of your priority claims, it could be that the receiving office spots this error. If they do see this error, they should send you an invitation. This would be a form called PCT RO 110. If the RO doesn't see it or doesn't issue the form, the International Bureau, which does a secondary check on all PCT applications, would issue that form. Our form would be PCT IB 316. If you ever receive the one or the other form, don't just put them in your file, really take a close look at them, because this is an opportunity for you to still correct a defect which would be much more difficult to correct at a later stage, if not even impossible to correct before the designated offices. So do take care that you take a close look at such an issue. But you also need to be aware of the fact that not in all cases will either the RO or the IAB even be able to recognize that there is an error in the priority claim. So for instance, if your application number is incorrect, that might not be so obvious for the receiving office that there is something wrong with your priority claim if they haven't really seen, for instance, yet the priority document. Of course, if the filing date is more than 12 months before the date of your international application, that is something that an office could easily spot. But even in those cases, sometimes it's overlooked by the receiving office. So it's really also your responsibility as applicant to also double check after the time of filing if all the information that you have indicated in the request form is correct. Now, what happens if you do not correct such an error, or if you simply can't correct the error? Well, in this case, the RO or the International Bureau could declare your priority claim to be considered void. And you would basically lose your priority claim for the purpose at least of the international phase of the PCT procedure. There are 3 instances, however, where we could not make such a declaration. First of all, if the issue is that only the application number is missing, or if the data indicated in the request form is not identical with the information that we find on the priority document. In both instances, we're not entitled to declare your priority claim to be void. A third instance is where you filed your PCT application more than 12 months after the filing of your application of which you claim priority, but not more than 2 months later. In those instances, you have the right to restore possibly your priority right under a different procedure, and that is the reason why we leave such priority claims in your application. What are the consequences of having a priority claim be considered void or be declared void? Well, first of all, it changes your priority date. If you have an application which only contained one priority claim, if now that priority claim is considered void, the priority date will be the international filing date, and all the time limits which haven't yet expired will be calculated based on that new priority date. Now, this might be a good thing because you get more time, but it could also be a bad thing because you really would like to keep that priority claim in your application, and you might wish to try to revive that priority claim still in the national phase. If you're interested in reviving your priority claim and you think you have a good case, then make sure that you act as if your priority claim was still valid, enter the national phase still based on that priority claim which was declared void, and do not take advantage of the additional time that is now given to you. As I just said, there are cases where you wish to maybe still revive your priority claim in the national phase. And for that, you need to address all the designated offices where you're entering the national phase with such a request. Whether they will restore it or not is a question of national law. They are entitled to under the PCT, but they're not, strictly speaking, obliged to do it. So it's really a question of the applicable national law. We also publish information about such priority claims which are declared void, and that helps you to inform third parties that there is potentially a priority claim in your application which you will try to later on revive in the national phase, so they are, so to speak, put on warning. This is essentially the procedure to correct or add priority claims under the PCT. My best advice really is not to make a mistake at the time of filing, but if you do make a mistake, try to correct these issues still within 4 months so that you get it corrected during the international phase and you do not have to rely on the less likely possibility to restore your priority claim later on in the national phase.